the more sophisticated you are in your social perception,
Right.
the less likely even encounters with dangerous people are to go wrong.
Yep.
I'll tell you a story about that.
Yep.
So I had this landlord when I lived in Montreal, and he was an ex-president of Hell's Angels in Montreal. And he'd been in prison, and he was a rough guy.
Yep.
And we couldn't communicate that easily because he spoke Joual French, which is very hard to understand, even if you're French, and I spoke English. And there was quite a big class difference between us, and I was from Western Canada, and she was from Eastern Canada. And so, but we got along, you know. He lived right beside me, and to the degree we could communicate, we did. And he did some artwork. He worked in neon, as it turned out, and I bought some of his pieces, and we kind of got to know each other insofar as we could. Now, the problem, his name was Paulo.
Mm-hmm.
The problem was that now and then he would go on a bender, and he could drink, well, like an unlimited amount of alcohol over a 3-day period, like 90 beer, you know, like, and he would drink himself to a point where it was not even obvious how conscious he was, but he was still upright.
Right.
And then he'd drink up all his money, and then he developed a habit of coming to my door at like 3 a.m. to sell me like a toaster or a microwave because he needed money, because he wanted to keep drinking. And so I did that a couple of times. He showed up at like 3 a.m. Now he's a big guy and he's tough. And I went out once to a bar with him. He put me on the back of his motorcycle, which is a 750 Honda, if I remember correctly. He put his wife's helmet on my head, which is a little tiny helmet, and away we went. He said, if the cops come after me, I'm not stopping, just so you know.
Yeah.
It's like, well, that was the beginning of a very interesting evening. And he got into all sorts of fights at the bars because people would come up and like challenge him, essentially. Stupid people.
Yeah.
And that didn't go well for them. So he was touchy, let's put it that way. Well, I talked to my wife about this, because she didn't like the fact that I was giving Paulo money for his like toasters and so forth, because she knew that he was trying to quit drinking.
Yeah.
So, and then it also scared her that he would come over like at 3 a.m. So one day he came over at 3 a.m. and he was standing there sort of swaying and looking at me. And I had to tell him that I wasn't going to give him any more money starting then. And I had to tell him why. And so I said, look, we know you're trying to quit drinking. And when you come over and I buy your toaster, then you go and drink. And I can't do that anymore because it's not good. And he looked at me for like 10 seconds. And I know why he was looking at me. He was looking at me to see if I was playing moral superiority games.
Yeah.
Yeah, in which case the interaction wouldn't have gone very well.
Yeah.
Right. And so the reason I'm bringing that up is because as your social perception becomes more sophisticated, the probability that you can navigate well in a complex and potentially dangerous situation increases radically.
Right.
So if you can practice that in a dream, now that should mean that you should concentrate on elements of social behavior that didn't go your way, that you don't understand.
Right.
And that would take you into a landscape of, well, hard to tell, but possibly into a landscape of malevolence. That would explain, for example, why people go and watch horror movies and movies about serial killers and so forth. It's like you want to sharpen yourself up.